Sometimes you feel.
Hi guys and welcome back to RedStone Productions. As you can still tell, I'm in my own apartment in Amsterdam. The studio is temporarily shut down, but we're hopefully gonna be able to open it back up on June, and of course observing the social distancing that the government is actually putting in place. So what we do have today on the menu for you guys is actually our very first episode of a quick basic mix that I'll be doing for you. So the idea here is basically, as you can see from my setup, I do have my audio station. I do have over here my video station where I can do all of the switching. We do have an ATEM Mini, from what you can probably tell, down here. And with this we can switch in between my main camera, the second camera, our main audio screen, and we do have our video switcher set up. Okay, the actual audio interface we use, it's our Apollo 8P that we normally use for our mobile rigs, followed by a Mag Audio EQ4M, a Manley Stereo Varimu, and a Manley Massive Passive Mastering Edition. So what I want to actually show you today, it's a really cool session that I received from Zakk Zahariev. And this session, it's basically been recorded on an SSL G Plus console. And it's a really nice demo that the singer Hannah Magenta wrote down a few months back, and Zakk, who's been the recording engineer for that project, basically submitted to us. The name of the song is Just Out of Reach, and it's a really nice ballad. I thought it was a really nice example of basic mixing, because we have a lot of different microphones pointing at the acoustic sources. So without further ado, I also received from Zakk a little introduction to the session itself, so enjoy it.
Greetings everyone, my name is Zakk, and I'm extremely happy to be featured on RedStone Productions this week. The song that I'm sharing with you is called Just Out of Reach and is performed and written by Hannah Magenta. We are recording in an SSL-based studios with external 1073's Neve preamps. We're having an SC Gemini Valve microphone on the vocals, which is also the same microphone we use to record the doubles with. There is a piano recorded with an A-B technique with the C414s trying to capture a bit more width. There is an XY positioning in the middle of the piano, which is to concentrate to the center of the piano. And there is a TLM 103 room microphone, which is still positioned to capture mainly the piano, as all the musicians were in the same room. There's a string ensemble recorded with a TLM 103 stereo pair with an ORTF from the top. Finally, there is the guitar, one microphone capturing the strings since the guitar was a hollow body, and there is also the DI being recorded separately. There is an amp which is recorded with a front and back mic since it was an open back amp. We built a tunnel around the amp, and at the very end of the tunnel we placed a stereo pair trying to record a more spacey sound, which is something that Eddie Van Halen used in the 80s on his records. There is slightly some EQ and compression going on the desk and some going on some of the preamps, but everything you hear is basically what went to tape.
There we go. Sorry about that, guys. That was my lavalier set. All right, let's go a little bit behind the scenes. Let's geek in a bit. So I'm using a Snicer lavalier set. This is my transmitter, and over here I do have my receiver plugged into camera 2. And I think now you should be able to receive me back. It was basically muted over here. Now we're back. Now, without further ado, I would just jump back into the business. The different tracks we have going on in here are all being recorded in a pretty nice live room setup. Again, everything has been recorded through the SSL and some Neve microphone preamplifiers. If I just open up the session right there for you, and I put myself on the screen up there, what you basically can see is all of the tracks as I received it. He sent me a Logic session, so I just sticked to it. He also sent me a rough mix, which was quite interesting, and it was kind of a way of presenting the song with the guitar starting first, and then the lead vocal and piano slowly fading in, and later on even the strings fading in. But at this very point, I would really like you to have a proper listen to the tracks we have ahead of ourselves. Nothing is being engaged onto the tracks, everything is zeroed out, so we can slowly but steadily get an idea of what's really going on over here. So I will give it a quick play and kind of stop halfway through and then start doing our own job, okay? May bring on the vocals as well.
I'm under your spell, heart on my sleeve, wishing that you were mine to keep. But home ain't no hotel, and I see your ring. It's probably time to go to sleep, 'cause you're just out of reach. Days are cruel and nights are long. When longing won't end, you call and I'm back again. Right next to you, right next to me. I can't stand it anymore. It's every time I dream. I'm under your spell, heart on my sleeve, wishing that you were mine to keep. But home ain't no hotel, and I see your
Alright, if we start soloing the tracks, here we get our main electric guitar. Everything it's basically going through a subgroup that's called main guitar. We have a DI, sounds like that. DI. Then we do have two microphones on the amplifier, one on the front, one on the back. Here is the Sennheiser 421, and this is the AKG 414. And here we have a really interesting technique that Zakk is actually mentioning in his introduction, which is this EVH tunnel that he saw from other producers, and that's again a stereo microphone technique coming at the other end of the actual tunnel they place in front of the microphone, in front of the cabinet itself. And then we do have an acoustic sort of sound from this electric guitar. It's a hollow body electric guitar, so I really like that. I kept it in place. The second track for guitars is a double. This has been recorded after the fact. I just play some parts for you. This is the subgroup. We do have still a DI that just zeroed out. We do have another microphone pointing at the hollow body, but there was a lot of bleed, so it zeroed it out as well. And then we have a 414 AKG, large diaphragm condenser microphone, and a Sennheiser 421, a large capsule dynamic mic, and the same tunnel left and right stereo technique. That sounds like that all together. So that's the guitar double. This is the main guitar on top of that. Okay. Pretty okay as a demo sound, I would say. The next thing we have going on is a piano. The piano is being recorded with the AB stereo technique made of two AKG 414s. Let's just soloing up that mic, those two mics. Let's create a little loop. Then this is again a space pair. Then it had a coincidental pair. These are these two XY-SC microphones. I think they're pencils. It's more like a more cohesive center, strong image than the ABs. And then last but not least, he also placed a Neumann TLM 103, a little bit more spaced and backed off from the piano itself. That sounds a little bit more like a roomy piano. Bringing in the AB, the XY. That's the piano sound as it was recorded. All of the sounds you hear are the actual sounds that came out of the recording itself, as Zakk was mentioning before. So basically the idea here is that some EQs have been engaged, very little compression, just a safety guard, as I heard from Zakk. And then string-wise, well, it was, again, basically it was a cello and a violin. And they plays 4 microphones, so a stereo overhead set, and then 2 mics on the cello itself, so one on the front, one on the back. They were experimenting, I believe, and the strings, let's go to a part where he actually plays. Cool parts, let's go in there, let's solo strings out. So that's the sound of the strings. Let's go mic by mic. So here we got the cello front, back together, and then the string overhead with the cello front and back. So you got an idea, you know. Okay, recording. I can hear it's not such a huge space. And one of the things also Zakk was mentioning in his notes is there's a lack of low end in the recording. So the room is there and affects the sounds of the strings. The guitar amp is recorded in a booth while the microphone captures the strings of the whole body. Yeah, said that. Piano is recorded separate alongside the guitar dub. The mix sounds thin, as there are no real low end instruments. Okay, only the cello provides a proper low end, but was recorded alongside the violin to sound like an example. Maybe a mistake, well, experimenting. See if we can turn it around. Also having troubling with the high end of the vocals. Okay, so what I get out of this is we do have a little bit of limitation here, so we don't have enough low end being recorded in there. It says the mix, the rough mix sounds a little bit thin, and then we do also have a little bit of de-essing problem that we need to fix on the vocals. Let's have a quick listen just to the lead vocal, just to get an idea about that.
Heart on my sleeve, wishing that you
Vocals have been recorded with a really nice valve microphone from SC Electronics, the UK brand. This is a Gemini. I really like and dig the mic itself, but I'm not sure exactly about the positioning. It is a little bit harsh at times.
mine to keep, but home ain't no hotel.
Something else I also want to point out right away is that there were some kind of weird clicks that I received along with the session itself. As you can see here, one of the mics has been edited and muted in a specific spot. So I'm just going to solo that track so you kind of hear what I had to do in order to, first I had to spot where that noise was coming in. At first I was like, what is the deal with it? Well, there was one on this piano XY left microphone, so that sounds like this. Right, so all I did, as you can see, I just muted that and edited it out. So again, whenever all of the piano tracks are playing, you shouldn't be able to hear it. You do hear it a bit, but within the song itself, I can tell you that's pretty nicely masked.
'Cause you're just out of I know.
So that's one, and there was also one on the lead vocal that was like, oh my God, I wish this wouldn't be in there, but thanks God it wasn't in a spot where it would have been problematic. So if again, just look at here, and I back off here, you will hear that also in this track, there's a little click going on. Yeah, so same story, it's somewhere in here. Let me make this track pretty big. So all I need to do is basically trim it out, edit it, and get it going. I don't know what it was. That's a good question for Zakk, actually. Let us know if you're in the chat out there, Zakk. So that's that. The other thing, again, I wanted to address is these two main points. The de-essing of the vocal, lead vocal mainly, and the low end lacking on the acoustic instruments. So first thing I wanted to check, and that's something that I strongly recommend whenever you're having some sort of low end problems and you employed a lot of microphones and a lot of acoustic sources, well, guess what? Most likely you can optimize the phase coherence of all of those microphones summing up. The only way to do that is to basically go solo up the mics and try to instantiate a polarity reverse plugin that allows you to check which combination is actually the best for your own setup. So what I will be doing then is just starting with the very first subgroup of tracks, so the main guitar. And if I just open my mixer, you can see that on these guys, I do have 3 gain plugin instantiated. Now, as you can see, I'm not doing any gain boost or any of that. All I'm doing here is just basically flipping the polarity of or phase invert, as they say, on this gain plugin from Logic. And that is just to basically, again, optimize the phase relationship between all of these different microphones. So let me play the tracks as they are with no phase adjustment. You can hear the low end kicking in quite a lot as soon as I flip that polarity. They sound hollow, much bigger. So that was the same technique was applied pretty much on all of the subgroups of these tracks. So that was the main guitar. If I look at the double guitar itself, I instantiated one here. Let's have a listen to that. So the tunnel, I phase reverse the polarity, the stereo tunnel. There you go. Without the phase invert, with the phase invert, much beefier. So that's with the second set of electric guitars. As for the piano, also here plenty of mics have been employed. What I realized is that it was this room mic that was a little bit kind of struggling with the phase of the other ones. If we go to a part where they play, that's a good one. Let's give it a go. You can hear the coherency of the phase is so much better. Little adjustment there. Again, as I always say to my student at SAE, 1% here, 1% there, multiplied for the 20 tracks you have available, you're already in a much better state. When it comes down to the strings, also here, Zakk, check the polarity. So that's yeah, it's a really nice recording from the strings. Let me solo them up real quick. Again, these 2 plugs. You can hear how much it changes. So I'm basically reversing the polarity on the cello back and the overhead. So that's that. Cool. And then vocal wise, we do have a main lead vocal, just this guy, a Vox Gemini Evolve. Then we have 2 backing vocals kind of starting halfway here. Now, you guys tell me how long you want these live sessions to be. Today I started with a very basic song, a really nice demo that hopefully we will be able to turn around and send it over to Zakk, and hopefully the artist can do anything they want with it. So I'm quickly gonna quickly moving into my session. Just again, basically, yeah, I can save that. Just basically with the plugin I put in place. As you can see, we still have all of those gain plugins. Remember those? So those are still in there. So you can see exactly as we left it. Now the other thing, I mean, this was missing. The other thing we do have to do in here, again, once we clean up those little editing parts, the other thing I also did is I doubled those backing vocals just to create a bigger sort of stack of vocals, and I used very much the same channel strip settings, but inserted tape echo with different timing on these doubles, so it kind of makes it wider, you know, in a way. When it comes down to there, you can see it wider here on the backing vocals, just by doubling and inserting an actual tape echo on both of them with two different settings. Yeah, so that to create a little bit of extra spaciousness. The other thing I had to decide is, well, I received a rough mix where, as you could probably hear it from the first playback, starts with the actual guitars and then the piano will kick in. Didn't really like that presentation of the song, so I kind of took the liberty of playing with it a little bit. And the idea again is, this is my take on a mix. There are different takes on different mixes from different people. That's something I always try to strongly encourage anybody who's approaching mixing and sound processing. Try to have as many references as possible. Yeah, that's the only way. If you learn how to listen to music, well, you're gonna have a much better chance to be able to actually mix a song from scratch yourself. So without further ado, let me just quickly show you what kind of processing I apply to these tracks. As you can see, this is the main guitar. Besides the actual gain change, which is a phase invert, I haven't done anything else, but on the subgroup of the main guitar, I did boost quite a lot of 400 Hertz, 5 kilohertz and 7 kilohertz with 558 from Universal Audio. So this is an API recreation from Universal Audio of the 558. And then 2 cents. So this cents goes to a music reverb room, so a room that I created, reverb, and also gets sent to one of the delay I use for the vocals themselves. The guitar double is actually kind of doing the same, even though it's has a slightly different setting on the API 550. But as you can see on the singular channels themselves, there's nothing but just a phase correlation fix. So in here I'm boosting some 7K, some 3K, and I'm cutting some 300 Hertz on this double guitar. If we move to the piano itself, same story. I just did some panning on the mics themselves, the polarity flip, and then what I did is whole school pull tech, some boom and fizz at 100 Hertz and 5 kilohertz, and then an API 550. You can see I love these guys. That's a boost of 5K, a little boost of 400 Hertz, and a boost of 200. Just trying to blend in the low end that was missing. And again, they, as you can see, they get sent to the same effect chain. Now, in this case, a little bit more sent to that room piano, to that room reverb. And again, a little bit of send to a large hole, just to make the piano sound a little bit bigger. Let's say that's that. Now we're gonna solo these tracks in a sec. Strings, me open up this subgroup. Again, polarity change. Pull tech, boom and fizz, 100 Hertz and 10 kilohertz. And then another overall curve to get the sound and the blend I actually wanted of these strings. Next thing you actually see in here is the vocal tracks themselves. So this is a subgroup where all the vocals go in. The sense to effects are done within the tracks themselves, but then they all get sound into the vocal bus. And these are the 2 backing vocals. As you can see, we got some de-essing to take care of. We do have some surgical EQ to get done, to get rid of the nasty stuff. And that's on the backing vocal left, right. These are the doubles I created, where I inserted some delay just to create extra spaciousness. I can play those in a sec. And this is my lead vocal guitar, the lead vocal microphone chain. So a de-esser pointing at 7.4 kilohertz. There was a lot of de-essing going on. Then some corrective EQ. Then some boost, quite a lot of boost, at 100 Hertz with the API 550, like that. Then, sorry, we have an 1176. That's my first compressor, just catching the transients. I'm a 421, relatively medium fast attack and release. Just grabbing the transients there, followed by a Teletronic LA2A style compressor. It's the UAD version, and this is just grabbing the extra stuff that kicks in. This is an opto compressor, so it's super smooth, but just by putting an 1176 prior to that, that allows us to basically have the best of both worlds. This is catching the fast transients, and this is just gluing everything in. So none of the two have to do a lot of work, so to speak. Then I use this really nice Helios EQ with a little bit of boost at 120 Hertz, as you can see there. Another de-esser, and this is a nice one. People are like, wait, you're using two de-essers on the same mic? Like, yes, because I'm doing a lot of processing, and it was already recorded quite harsh, I should say. Probably not the best possible combination for the vocals. And yeah, so after all of my double compression, the EQ boosts and cut, I do have to de-ess one more time at 8.5 kilohertz this time. Sorry about that. So that was there. And last but not least, we do have a Mug EQ from Universal Audio plugin. This is just boosting a little bit of the airband. As you can see also here, we have the same sort of setup here. Now I did it within the plugin itself. Boosting a little bit of 40 kilohertz, the airband, and give it, I don't know, 0.5 at 2.5 kilohertz. So that's really like very, very little, but just enough to keep it in place. So I would say let's try to solo these tracks. Why not just trying to play the, yeah, maybe just the lead vocal for now. Yes, let's do that. Let's go into a spot where we can have a listen to it. Let's say from where she starts singing. It's a good spot. So I'm gonna disengage all the plugins I have going on with her. That's what we had.
Took a flight I should have missed, but just made it through. Fate had me run right into you, right next to you, right next to me. Strangers crossing the line when no one else.
Let's have a listen to this. Let's have a listen to this de-esser of what it's actually doing. We can actually hear the, yeah, we can actually hear whatever is going on there.
I took a flight.
That's what we're de-essing.
Fate had me run right into you,
The action we have.
right next to you.
So that's good. Doing a bit, but not super, 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 super much. Whoa. Then we have this surgical EQ over here. Let's check it out with and without.
I took a flight I should have missed, but just made it through. Fate had me run right into you,
So you can see the frequency
right next to
actually
you,
grabbing.
right next to me. Strangers crossing the line when no one else can see.
So you can see that those are all basically corrective cuts. The other thing, the API boost, 100 Hertz. Okay, let's check that out.
Heart on my sleeve,
It's just chest.
wishing that you were mine to keep.
Love this EQ. So the way these EQs work is the more you boost, and it's a proportional Q, sort of, you don't have a Q factor here, but the more you boost, the more it affects the actual Q curve. It's a really nice, gentle way of dealing with it. So basically, the more you boost, the wider the band becomes, which is making it a little bit more musical. The other thing we have going on here is an 1176. These guys, again, catching the transients.
But home ain't no hotel, and I see your ring.
1176 followed by an LA2A. That's just the beauty of it.
It's probably time
You see the action.
to go
Very different.
to sleep,
The
'cause
Helios,
you're just out of reach.
bottom end, 120 Hertz, telling you guys about. Then another de-esser. Let's just, now that we can, just solo that.
And you call and I'm back again,
Just a little bit. No.
right next to me.
And then the airband boost and the 2.5 kilohertz boost.
I can't stand it anymore. It's every time I dream I'm under your spell. Out on my my sleeve, wishing that you
Okay,
were
that's
mine
pretty sweet.
to keep.
Now let's check the effects we engage on this vocal. The first is ascent to, it says here, it's an actual plate with a little bit of an EQ curve cut in here. Yeah, just nasty resonance. That's something that we always suggest students to do, to basically cue into the reverb or after the reverb and get rid of the nasty stuff. The Abbey Road trick that everybody uses is just get rid of the super low end, the super high end, which makes just the reverb sit a little bit nicer within the context. In this case, we didn't really need to do that. So that's with that reverb out.
But home ain't no hotel.
Just create that
And I
space.
see your ring.
The other one is actually a vocal delay. As you can see, it's this plugin over here. Let me get rid of the verb. So you hear it engage now. And
It's probably time to go
you bring it
to
up.
sleep, 'cause you're just out of, I know.
Together with the verb.
These moments are so bittersweet, but something keeps me hanging on just.
Great. Running out of time. But again, nobody's really rushing. I guess we don't have anything to do in terms of work at this very point in our life, besides just trying to be connected with each other with whatever we have. In this case, it's going to be internet. So let's try to give you a full play of what I have going on right now. I kind of showed you the stuff I have in every single group. I can even give you a more detailed overview of this if you guys really want to dig into that. And before I do that, I'm just gonna mention this, which is, as you can see, this is my stereo bus, so the main master bus. And in here I have engaged basically an SSL bus compressor. Would you suggest everybody to always use EQ compression on your master bus, always engaged from the beginning of your mix? Well, it depends how much experience you have with that plugin or processor. For me, I just know what this guy excels at, and I know I'm gonna stick into either the hardware or the plugin in this case, no matter what. So I just engage it. Of course, I bring my threshold all the way up, my makeup all the way down. This is the normal setup, which is auto release, super slow attack. Sometimes it goes into 10 milliseconds, but just stick to the 30. This is the glue setting. I call it 4-to-1. This version also has a sidechain filter, fully mixed on. So yes, I do engage that and I leave it on most of the times because I know I'm going to stick to it. So I'd rather hear what's going to happen, especially for EQs. This is important. If I know I'm going to stick a pull tech or whatever boost or cut onto the master bus, well, I want to hear that while I'm blending tracks in. Otherwise, I will have to do it. I will have to undo it later on. So if instead of boosting a lot of, let's say, 16 kilohertz hair bands on every single track, if I just bring it onto the master bus or to the subgroups, well, I'm just gonna have to do less on every specific channel strips. So that's that. So I would say, without further ado, maybe it's good if I just give you a play of the track for what I have. And here you can see also kind of the different changes in terms of automations. Well, you can see some of it. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna close singular tracks because all the animations happen within the subgroups. So I think that's a better look at it. So let's give it a play. And you guys can tell me what you think about this rough mix, how we turn it around. The other thing that I will be also doing, since it's 1934, yep, I will also engage my mastering chain. This is the hardware mastering chain that you see going on over here. Let me just quickly pan it towards there a sec, so hopefully you guys can see it real well. So what we got going on, and there we go. So what we got going on in here is a Mag EQ, which is doing a 4 dB boost at 40 kilohertz on both channels. A Varimu is grabbing up to 2 dBs, no more than that. I'm in compressed mode. And a Malley, who's just gonna basically boost at 16 kilohertz and somewhere in the low end 400 hertz, 470, that's what the Malley has. And I also have a little boost on the Mag EQ here at 40 hertz and the sub. So let me just engage this chain so you can see it let me engage the hardware insert. That's what this guy is the actual hardware insert. And let me do the ping to make sure that my latency is correct, because I'm basically, remember, this time I'm basically going out of my DAW into this mastering chain and then back into the actual Apollo, and that's what a hardware insert is basically doing for us, okay? So let's try to have a proper listen to this track with my master bus chain engaged, so you can kind of see also the action of this stuff, okay? I will give it a play.
I took a flight I should have missed, but just made it through. Fate had me run right into you, right next to you, right next to me. Strangers crossing the line when no one else can see. I'm under your spell, heart on my sleeve, wishing that you were mine to keep. But home ain't no hotel, and I see your ring. It's probably time to go to sleep, 'cause you're just out of reach. Days are cruel and nights are long. When longing won't end, you call and I'm back again, right next to you, right next to me. I can't stand it anymore, it's every time a dream. I'm under your spell, heart on my sleeve, wishing that you were mine to keep. But home ain't no hotel, and I see your ring. It's probably time to go to sleep, 'cause you're just out of, I know, these moments are so bittersweet. Something keeps me hanging on just a little bit longer. You gave me a taste of what might have been, but it's too late to unbreak this heart. I'm under your spell, heart on my sleeve, wishing that you were mine to keep. But home ain't no hotel, and I see your ring. It's probably time to go to sleep, 'cause you're just out of reach. Just out of reach. Just out of reach. Just out of reach. Just
sorry. There we go, my microphone. As you can see, it's fairly difficult to switch everything on the fly, engage microphones, the audio. Sometimes you lost my mic. I hope it doesn't happen again. Now I'm back. What I was trying to tell you guys in a second before is that whenever we need to do a bound, so an export of this mix, but we do have hardware inserts like we do have in this case, well, we do have to do what's called a real-time bounce, because basically the hardware insert works so that it can only happen if the song is being played in real time through the units. Otherwise, it won't be able to actually get it going. You'll get no mix export. So offline, if you're using into the box real time, it's absolutely mandatory if you use any hardware insert, which is our case in this instance here. The other thing I also want to point out is, again, this tracks was submitted this week. It was fairly quickly mixed in. Thanks again to Zakk and Hannah to provide this track. I would really like you guys to provide your own tracks. You can submit it at RedStone Productions, info@redstoneproductions.nl. I want you guys to do it. That's the best way to get engaged with our live streams. And hopefully you will get some tracks in returns. And on top of that, maybe even learn something out of it. Again, this is kind of a pilot live stream format that we're doing here. I have plenty of ideas for the future, ideally on June. So first, maybe the 2nd, I'll be able to go join back into the studio where I will take my streaming kit and we'll keep on doing stuff from there, which, in case you guys forgotten how that studio looks like, let me show it to you. So just I have a little thing going on in here. So we haven't lost our studio racks yet. So that's what I want to go to as soon as possible, okay? But again, till that happen, please continue to provide your own tracks at info@redstoneproductions.nl. That's absolutely important for us to keep on working and to basically try to be positive, guys, okay? So let's try to stick together in this period. I've been receiving a lot of tracks. Please keep on doing that and don't forget to subscribe, okay? If you have any question, please don't hesitate to put it onto the chat itself down there. And yeah, hopefully we'll be able to do, of course, one more next Friday. And after that, we're gonna have some really interesting Q&A with some outboard gear manufacturers. So stay tuned for more.